This is no ordinary pallet project. What we're going to do, the first step, is we got to pull all these boards off. They're actually easier than it looks. All you got to do is give a little bit of pressure with a crowbar and these nails pop right out. We want to pull out the big ones and the small boards. First step though, after that, is to get two long 1x3 6-foot long boards. We're going to put these in an L pattern, but we need to put some glue down. That is perfect. It actually holds boards together better than nails. Once we get that glue down, we're going to put this in an L shape just like that, and then we're going to use a few nails to hold it in place. I use 1.5-inch nails. They're perfect and they go in just right. Once we get that all glued together, we're going to mark 12 inches from the bottom. That's going to be our starting place for our first board. Now I'm going to start with a wider board right here. We're going to set this across and then we're going to alternate to a smaller board. Again, going after that to a wider board, from wide, small, alternating all the way up. Now, we're going to lay all these across, but these are not cut to the size we want. Once we get these laid out, what we want to do is mark at the base the 24 inches. That is going to be our first cut, but we're going to lay a straight board across at an angle from the 24 inches up to the top, and then we're going to mark it all the way across. What this does is this gives us a perfect angle to make our pallet Christmas tree. Once we get it marked out, we're going to put it over to 22.5 degrees, which happens to follow the marks all the way up. Once we cut these, we're going to cut that first one. Now remember, every cut we do, we need to make a duplicate because we're going to do two sides of the tree. Starting back at the bottom one again, we're going to use the brad nails and put it into place. Doesn't take much, just put them in there. Now we need to space it. I use my pencil as a spacer and it worked perfect. We don't want to just bunch them up right next to each other. Once we get the first row done, we need to flip it over to make it easy. Take that, it's really light because that pallet wood is not that heavy, and we're going to lay it across the table. Again, I'm going to use a clamp on this side just to hold it in place, and then we're going to line up the boards with the first set we put in. This goes much faster on the second row than the first row because the first row is what is like our template and holds it in place. Once we get these all brad nailed down, just like we did with the first ones, we are going to take a drill bit and randomly just put drill bits and holes all across the pallet tree. Once we get these random holes just put all inside there, we're going to grab us some white or colored lights. It's a preference. Make sure you get the ones that can plug in from the back though, just in case you run out of room. Take those lights and you're going to staple them down. Now be careful with the staples. You want to make sure that you don't go through the wires. Now remember those holes that we drilled? Stick the light right through there. And again, use the staples to hold them in place. We're going to go up and around and all around our pallet Christmas tree. Now we're going to put it in place on that boring corner in the house, and look at this. We're going to light it up and watch just that magic come alive. Wasn't it great to be able to upcycle some pallets and make it into a Christmas tree and turn that boring corner into a work of art?
We'll grab an old screen window to create this beautiful holiday project. So I've gone ahead and cleaned it up. I've given the wood just a little bit of scrub, but I want to go ahead and paint this. So I'm going to use some of this bluish green milk paint, and I'm just going to give it a quick paint before I start to decorate it. I'm not going to cover it completely. I don't care if any of the old wood or the old color shows through. I just want to add a little bit of this blue and a little bit of this, some green as well if this is a little too blue. Okay, so my frame is all dry now, and you can see I've added just a little bit of green over the blue paint, and it's time to start creating our tree in the middle. I've gone ahead and collected a whole bunch of baubles here in beautiful kind of jewel tones, and I've got 3 different sizes. So you just want a variety of size for this project, and you are going to want the little hooks that come on them. So you want to make sure that they've got these little hooks. And you want to start at the bottom and work your way up. So I'm going to start hanging my baubles, and you just need to take this little wire and poke it right through the screen. I'm not going to do anything to the back of that wire yet because I'm going to fill this first, and then I'll work on the back just to make sure everything is where I'd like it. So we're working our way up instead of down because as we go up, we'll cover up those wires that we've kind of left exposed. So I'm just going to keep working my way up this window until I have this filled in. So So as you're filling this in, you really just need to keep playing with it and keep adding baubles all the way up. So we're trying to create a tree effect, a cone effect. And so you just want to keep that in mind as you're laying all of your ornaments up the screen. So once you have your baubles where you like them, you're going to turn it around. And on the back, you're going to start pushing these all down. So if you need to, you can fold it right over the screen to keep them in place. So you can just tighten them up a bit by folding them down, and that will hold them in place. As you start to get to the top of the tree, you just want to start using smaller and smaller wires, or you want to pull them back tighter so that your baubles are close to and not hanging so much. So they're close to the screen, and not hanging so much. As we get to the top, you don't want to see these wires hanging, so we'll start to just pull those tighter and not let them hang loose as much. So this one's even a little bit too long, so I'm just gonna finish up this tree, add the rest of my baubles, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Who would have guessed that an old screen window could look so beautiful decorated for Christmas? The next time you go to throw one away or see one on the side of the road, be sure to grab it and your Christmas baubles.
We're going to start with some of that old cardboard tubing you get from wrapping gifts. We can also use paper towel holders and some toilet roll holders. First thing you're going to do is take that long tube that you got from the wrapping paper, and you're going to cut it right in half, but not exactly in half. One piece needs to be a little bit bigger than the other. Here's our paper towel holder. This fits perfectly right here, number 3 position. Now you can grab a longer tube, offset it on the inside a little bit, mark your finger, and you're going to cut that tube also. We're going to just keep cutting tubes until we go all the way up to the top of our tree. Once we got all of those cut out, let's put the trunk on. That's what it's going to look like. Next, we're going to grab some fabric. I went ahead and grabbed some red. I love this one. It's really Christmassy. Some plaid and also some gray and black. These are going to be perfect. What we need to do is take that first layer of cardboard and we're going to offset it a little bit because we need to tuck it in. So don't put it on the edge. We're going to mark this because we need to cut it. What's going to happen is this fabric's going to roll over the tube. We need enough to make sure that we have it to glue down. Cut out your piece. Again, you're going to leave about an inch on the outside. Cut it across the top. Once you get that cut out, run you a bead of hot glue down the cardboard tube. Once you get that on there, instead of pulling the fabric over, what you can do is just roll the tube right into place. And there it is. That's much better and it holds great. Now this one though, run the glue across the top of the fabric. But we don't have to roll it over towards the tube. You just take that tube, roll, 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 and there it is. Hold it for about 10 to 15 seconds and it's going to adhere. On the outside, just put a bead of glue one place, 180 degrees from the other, and just start tucking it in. It's okay if it doesn't grab the tube, but it'll grab the other part of the fabric. And look at that. It's all nice and neat for you. Now, once we got at least 2 tubes that are covered in the fabric, run a bead of glue right across the seam because we're going to try to hide that. Put these 2 tubes together, go in order, place it right next to it, and again, just like any hot glue, hold it for 10 to 15 seconds. Make sure you got it lined up. Just keep on going. And I use some burlap also in there to intermingle. Make it look good and stand out. Last but not least, look at that trunk. I think burlap is perfect for it. We're going to glue that on there. The only issue we have is this is really not strong enough just having fabric glued to each other. So let's grab us a paint stick, put some glue on the backside, turn it over, and that is going to get pressed onto the fabric and it's going to give it some stiffness. We can do this up and down. Watch this. So much better. Now we're going to flip it back over. It's time to decorate. I grabbed a little bow that I made, put some hot glue on it, and I'm going to put it onto my Christmas tree. I need to add a little pizzazz to it. Also, I can grab a little ornament and do the same. All of these I picked up at the hobby store. Just put it on there. And guess what? When we come back, I'm going to show you what the final project looks like. And there it is. Isn't that just beautiful sitting on top of your mantle with everything all decorated?
Next time you're at the dollar store, pick up a couple of charger plates and a margarita glass. Start by spray painting the charger plates. I went back to the dollar store and picked up some melamine plates. I spray painted these and let them dry completely. Take one of the charger plates and with a hot glue gun, glue 4 beads equidistant apart in the center of the plate. Put some hot glue onto the tops of those wood beads and press the bottom of the second charger plate on top. I took each of the wood beads and with a little hot glue, glued them side by side at a slight angle into the crevice between the 2 charger plates. Remember that margarita glass? Apply a ring of hot glue onto the bottom of the glass and toward the edge. Press the glass to the center of the beaded charger plates until it's secure. Then apply a thin band of hot glue to the rim of the glass. Take the smaller beaded plates and press them onto the center of the glass.
Grab a glass bowl from the dollar store. I'm going to place it upside down on a wood round. Then I'm going to surround the bowl with wood beads. I found these strings of beads at the dollar store. Place a bead of glue around the bowl and then attach the beads. Once the glue is completely dry, I can pull the bowl out of the center. Now I picked up another smaller bowl at Dollar Tree. I am going to place this on the bottom of the wood round to create a pedestal. Now I'm going to grab a larger wood bead and just fill the holes with some air dry clay to create a solid round ball. Give it a coat of spray paint. With everything dry, I'm gluing the larger bead to the bottom of the glass bowl. Then I can just place this bowl right on top of that pedestal.
Head to Dollar Tree and pick up 9 small wood crates and stain them with wood stain. Take 3 wood stir sticks and stain them as well. Next, glue the crates together with 3 in a row. Then stack and glue each row to the top of the first row. Cut the stir sticks to the right size and hot glue them to the front bottom of each row of the crates. Add 4 wood beads with hot glue to create a base. Then use a screwdriver to attach the drawer label holders to the stir sticks. Head to Dollar Tree and pick up 4 small wood crates, 2 small floating shelves. Take the white paint for all 4 crates. Assemble 2 crates together with hot glue and then attach to the second shelf upside down with more hot glue. Take fairy lights and weave it through the holes of the wood crates. Attach the second level of the combined wood crates and do the same thing with the fairy lights. To cover up the seams, take rhinestone ribbon and glue into place. Take craft mirror tiles, cut them to size, hot glue into place, and then remove the protective cover. Head to Dollar Tree and pick up plastic storage drawers, hot glue them together, and then attach each stack to each other from the side. Take wood cubes and hot glue them under the drawers. Take 4 mirrors and hot glue them to the sides and the top. Add beads. Take 4 more mirrors. Take paint stir sticks and hot glue them to the backs of the mirrors to attach them all together. And glue nautical rope to the edges. Add the mirrors to the upper portion of a paper towel holder and then place the holder back under the drawers.
I grabbed 2 of these wood hangers. I'm pulling off the rope. I'm going to cover the front of the wood piece with the shelf liner, and then I'm just going to fold the edges over the sides. Grab 4 picture frames. These square ones work best. And then use a pliers to pull out the fasteners. Use some hot glue to attach 2 blocks to the bottom of the frame. Then glue the second frame to the other side of the blocks. You're going to do this twice with a total of 4 frames. Now we have all the pieces to assemble our shelf.
Take a bowl and cover the bottom in plastic wrap. Next, use a sponge brush and Mod Podge. Cover the entire bowl base with Mod Podge on the plastic wrap. Take rope and begin from the center of the base and wind it around towards the outer part of the bowl. Once completely dry, remove rope layer from the bowl and any excess plastic wrap.
We are going to start with 7 of these bowls. You're also going to need some E6000. Just basically go around. You're going to place it on top. We're going to do this again. So I'm going to give these a little bit of time to cure. I'm going to be taking my E6000 and I'm going to go around the top of this, stack it on top, and we're going to do this one more time. I am using Dixie Belle Vintage Duck Egg Chalk Paint. So I'm actually going to use E6000 for this step. Line it up. And then we're going to let that sit until it dries. And we are going to trace around the inside of the hole that I created. You actually will not need to paint the underside, just the sides and the top. I'm going to start with the bottom part, tilt that up. So we are going to take a solar light, placing it over, put the top part of our solar light and it's gonna nestle right in.
Grab 2 bamboo cutting boards, 4 glass jars, 2 napkin holders from the Dollar Tree. Add some strong adhesive glue to the 2 metal bars on the bottom of the napkin holder and adhere it to the center of the bamboo cutting board. Then add some more strong adhesive glue and then adhere the glass jars on each side. Allow everything to set and dry overnight and add some wall adhesive strips to the back.
I got both of my bowls from the Dollar Tree. So essentially what we're trying to do is we're gonna glue them base to base. I'm gonna be using E6000 and I'm gonna be using my hot glue gun. So I'm gonna be using chalk paint, honeycomb, folk art craft paint. We're gonna be putting some baking soda in here mixed. We're gonna apply it to the bowl. All right, so we're gonna be using a stone colored Rust-Oleum textured finish paint. We are going to be grabbing about 4 of these candles from Dollar Tree. We are going to melt them. And I took the wicks out and I placed them where I wanted. I'm using skewers to secure it in place. I'm going to be adding my melted wax into this. And I'm actually going to be using a scented lavender.
Next time you're at Dollar Tree, scoop up some of the white wire baskets and grab yourself a paper towel holder. Then I'm going to take the paper towel holder and place it on the bottom and then cut out the wire basket just in the middle. You're going to slide it over top and then you're going to secure it in place with some zip ties at the bottom. You're next going to take your second wire basket and cut out the middle. You're going to place it on your paper towel holder and then you're going to place some zip ties around the paper towel holder to give it a little bit of a ledge to sit on. Then you're going to come in with some E6000 and then you can spray paint it your favorite color. On one of my most recent trips to Dollar Tree, I came across these glass bowls and as well I spotted these cool margarita glasses. I'm going to take some E6000 and I'm going to spread it around on the bottom of the margarita glass. And then I'm also going to apply some E6000 on the bottom of one of the glass bowls. Then I'm going to place it on top. I'm going to leave this to set. In the meantime, I'm going to take my second glass bowl and I'm going to take some E6000 and I'm going to take an old drawer pull and then place that on top.
Head to Dollar Tree and pick up wood blocks, 2 wood trays, 2 larger frames, and 2 5x7 frames. Take 4 wood blocks and hot glue them to the underside of one of the frames. Paint both frames. Take 2 wood trays and paint them white. Once dry, add a border of gold washi tape to the top. Next, take wood skewers and cut them to size. Hot glue them to each side of the underside of the frames. Hot glue 2 large gold metal rings to the side of the frames on parallel sides. Glue the second frame to the top side of the rings. Cut down paint stir sticks to fit the interior part of the frame and cover them with gold washi tape. Unwrap the 5x7 frames, remove the glass, and place the glass on both levels.
2 blue buckets that I found at Dollar Tree, cutting the handles off, glue them together. I'm stacking my other bowl on top of it. We're gonna take our pool noodles and we're gonna start cutting them in half, putting enough glue and then holding the pool noodle in place to form the shape. I'm taking caulk, adding it to the indentations between my pool noodles, but I'm just gonna be painting this entire thing white. Stone spray paint, and we are going to spray it.
You won't believe how a panel of insulation material could change up my bed. I measured the length of my bed. I cut the insulation board using a razor blade. I cut the fabric and batting, leaving plenty of extra on both sides. Then I just wrapped it. I secured it using a staple gun. I used command strips with Velcro on them. I positioned the decorative side piece and simply pressed it into place. I used leftover material to create some pillows and dressed up the bed.
I started by drawing some lines onto my window, and then I started to embellish the lines, and I started to draw straight lines down the center of my window. Now it was time to draw shapes at the end of all of those straight lines. At the top of all of the lines, I made little bows, and I started to add little dots for snow all around the window.
Out some snowflake shapes that you like and cut them each out. Place your snowflake under a piece of wax paper, glittery fabric paint, and squeeze it out onto the contact paper, tracing the snowflake underneath. Let it dry for 24 hours. Coat your wax paper with some non-stick cooking spray. This will prevent your glue from sticking to the wax paper. Squeeze your hot glue onto the wax paper, tracing the design of the snowflake, and let it cool completely. Carefully peel your snowflake off the wax paper and then wash it to get the cooking spray off. Paint sparkle Mod Podge onto your snowflake. Sprinkle with glitter, let it dry completely. I bought glitter glue sticks from the Dollar Tree. Let it cool completely, put some fishing line onto your snowflakes, and they're ready to be hung.
Pick up a roll of cellophane wrap from the dollar store and then gather some rolls of toilet paper. Pull the corners and sides of the wrap around the top of the roll and tie with some fun ribbon. Paint some black eyes and a mouth, an orange carrot nose, and add some touches of white for highlights.
What I want to do is take my small tubes and I want to fold them in half and smooth out these edges. And I just want to cut off little strips of my tube until I have it all cut apart. And I want to use a piece of wax paper. Now to assemble my snowflakes, I want to start with a big dollop of glue right in the center. And then I'm going to start sticking in the edges of my paper tube. Now I want to start building up in between these sections. And now I want to add a little sparkle to my snowflake.
I picked up 3 of these bouncy balls from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by painting these. Your best bet is going to be using a chalk paint and just apply a really thin coat. The paint does not have to be perfect. Now I grabbed 2 paint sticks. I'm just going to hot glue these together to make one long one. Now I'm taking each of those painted bouncy balls and I'm going to attach them to the paint sticks. I am using Snowtex. This is a really cool textured medium. With everything dry, I can start decorating. So I've just got some little black stones. I wanted to create a little carrot for a nose, so I used some orange polymer clay and just baked this for about 10 minutes so it becomes nice and firm. I am using a big flower pot. I'm going to use some heavy stones to help keep it in place. Now I want to add some decorations. Pick up a couple solar lights from Dollar Tree, then grab an empty pickle jar. I'm going to start by washing this pickle jar really well. I'm just going to soak it in hot water with soap. It's going to get all the sticky label off the outside and it's going to get that pickle smell out of the inside. Then I'm going to take the dry jar and I'm going to add pieces of twine to it. To finish off the outside, I'm wrapping a thick piece of rope around the top of the jar. Now I'm going to fill it with some glass beads. Just pull off the stick that goes in the ground and place the light right in the jar. Grab a Dollar Tree solar light and one of those tall glass vases. Put the base of the solar light into the vase and then fill around it with some decorative stones. Remove the top of a solar light and wrap some floral wire around it to create a swing. Place this inside a paper lantern. Grab a few small clay pots, place a solar light into the middle, and fill around it with stones to hold it in place. Grab a larger planter, place a few solar lights in it, and then fill around it with rocks. So I picked up a couple of these dollar store solar lights and I'm going to take them apart. I just need that kind of crystal plastic part and the top. So I'm going to cover the light bulb on the bottom and then I'm going to cover the solar panel on top and then use a craft knife to cut around it so you get perfectly straight lines. This is a 7-inch basic embroidery hoop. So I'm going to untwist this screw and put that aside. I'm taking them outside and I am adding a couple coats of a matte black spray paint. Make sure they're fully dry to the touch and now we can assemble. So first we want to remove the painter's tape so that these solar lights work. On the clear plastic part, there are 2 little clips that help attach it to the top. And I'm just going to take some floral wire and wrap it around each one of those clips. Wrap it nice and tight so it hugs the plastic closely. And then I'm able to screw the black part back on top and the wire is still going to hang out either side. I picked this chain up at the craft store. It is actually in the jewelry section. I'm going to thread the chain through the screw and tighten it about halfway. The solar light is going to hang from the inside hoop. So I'm just going to use my floral wire and wrap it around that hoop. Now I can put this middle hoop, the smaller hoop, back inside the larger one. Now once everything's in place, I can tighten this screw. Grab some solar lights from Dollar Tree to create this outdoor decor. I'm gonna grab a pool noodle as well. I'm gonna cut this into small 1-inch sections. And then I'm gonna paint 3 of those sections a really dark black color. I picked up this really heavy metal candle holder from a thrift store. Now I'm gonna put it all together. Then I can grab my solar lights, pull off that bottom, I don't need that, and I can glue each of the lights into the center of the pool noodle. I picked up this lamp at a thrift store. The first thing I need to do is pull the wiring out. Now I'm gonna take it outside and spray paint it with a textured metallic spray paint. Now I can put the shade back on, and instead of a light bulb, I'm going to put the top of a solar light right in the center. Grab a solar light, pull off the stake, we don't need that part. Then use some hot glue to add it to a metal sconce. I picked these up at the thrift store. They're nice and heavy. Then use a screw hook in a fence or a deck and hang the sconces outside.
I'm going to grab me some solar lights. Next, head over to the hardware store. I'm going to grab me about 100 feet of nylon rope. First thing I got to do is blow up this dollar beach ball. Then I got to get out some Portland cement. Make sure it's not concrete, but cement. You want it actually really thin because we need to coat that rope. Now, on that beach ball, just start laying that rope. You're just going to start roping it all the way around. Once you get to the end, what you're going to do is tuck that last bit in underneath the rope. And it's going to hold it in place. Then what we can do is move on to possibly adding a little bit more cement. Make sure you cover all that rope. We want it to stiffen up as best we can. Let it sit for a couple hours once we get it covered. Once it's covered, take a knife and just puncture the beach ball. Once we get it all the air out, just go ahead and pull it through one of the bigger openings between the ropes. Now, I want to clean it up. Took a little bit of a plastic fork and just clean up the edges. Don't want anything flaking off. Take a squirt bottle and start squirting all the string, and you're just going to powder it with the cement. Just keep doing that all over. What this does is make it thicker and strengthen it up. We're going to grab that dollar light again. Take out the bottom part. You're going to turn it around, put it in, and that's what's going to stick into the ground. Go ahead and put it right into the ground, right in the area you want to put it. And then you're going to take your string orb and you're going to put it right over the light, right in the middle, and lay it on down.
Here are a few ways you can add ambiance to your yard by using solar lights. This taper candle holder I found at a thrift store. I added silicone to each holder spot and then added the top of a solar light to each one. Using a stencil or freehand, you can paint or use a Sharpie to draw on your numbers. Add some glass rocks or any decoration inside you like. Add some water, as it will amplify the light reflection. Pull your solar light apart, and you only need the top piece. Place that inside the lid of the mason jar and screw the lids back on. 3 different size terracotta pots. This is so they'll stack easily. Start by painting your terracotta pots whatever color you like. Pull the solar light apart and cut the little stem off the solar light to make it flat. Add silicone to the base of the solar light and put it on the top of the terracotta pots for your light. Using some more paint or Sharpies, draw on your windows or any other decorations you'd like.
To begin this project, choose your solar light set. Next, using 1/2 inch by 3/4 inch board, measure and cut 8 8-inch sections. Using a rad nailer, I secured these together, creating a square, but if you don't have access to this tool, you can always use a screw. Next, decide how long you want your light to be. We chose to use a 1 by 2 by 30 inch board. After sanding, find the middle of the board and mark off 5 points. We spaced ours 5 inches apart. Using a paddle bit, drill through the center of the board. After finding the center on the side piece and the length board, line them up and then secure. Once everything is square, measure your final 4 boards to make a hollow rectangle. Cut and secure these as you did the side squares. Finally, attach 2 eye hooks to either side to use for hanging. After my eye hooks were secure, I attached 3 feet of black chain link to each side of my chandelier. You can leave this raw wood and coat with a polyurethane to protect it from the outdoors, but I chose to use a satin black spray paint. Once my spray paint was dry, it was time to secure my solar lights. This took a little force, but warming up the plastic in the sun can make the tube more pliable. I chose to cut down my tubes, but this is of course personal preference. I have a pergola out back where I hung my new chandelier from 2 screw hooks.
We are going to start with 7 of these bowls. You're also going to need some E6000. Just basically go around. You're going to place it on top. We're going to do this again. So I'm going to give these a little bit of time to cure. I'm going to be taking my E6000 and I'm going to go around the top of this, stack it on top, and we're going to do this one more time. I'm using Dixie Belle Vintage Duck Egg Chalk Paint. So I'm actually going to use E6000 for this step. Line it up. And then we're going to let that sit until it dries. And we are going to trace around the inside of the hole that I created. You actually will not need to paint the underside, just the sides and the top. I'm going to start with the bottom part, tilt that up. So we are going to take a solar light, placing it over, put the top part of our solar light, and it's going to nestle right in.
of these dollar store styrofoam rings. So all I've done is I've clipped the garland, and to secure it, we're gonna take a zip tie. So I have 2 different types of berries here. So my method of using hot glue is to use a glue skillet. So now we have some mini ornaments, and all I've done is I've added a little dollop of hot glue on the bottom, and we're just gonna work them in.
Apply a generous amount of hot glue to the tray and stick a piece of styrofoam down. Take out your tree and fluff the branches. You want to keep one side of the tree rather flat and fluff up the branches toward the other side. Next, you're going to take the first tree and stick it into the side of the styrofoam. You're going to open up the third and the fourth trees and use a pair of wire cutters to cut off each of the little branches from the trunks of those trees and begin building up your centerpiece with those branches. Now is where you get to have some fun and personalize your centerpiece. Finish off your arrangement by adding some Dollar Tree Christmas ornaments wherever you want a little more color.
Take any glass vase or jar container that you have and layer the bottom with a couple of inches of greenery. Angle the ends of the greenery toward the outside of the glass. Next, grab your box of plastic wrap and start crumpling it into a bunch, but I did try to shape it into a sort of level disc. The third layer consists of fresh cranberries. Take a pitcher of water and pour over the top of all the layers. You can add a tea light.
Grab some tiny little ornaments. We're going to start with these large tongue depressors. We're going to cut those in half, and then we grabbed an embroidery hoop, and we're going to take those little pieces of wood that we cut in half, and we're going to glue them at the bottom and then hot glued it to the other side. Next, I grabbed this little wood tray and I hot glued that in. Then I grabbed my little ornaments, and I also had some little stars, and I just lined them up and glued them up one side. Then I grabbed one of my flowers and I hot glued that down at the top. Then I grabbed this little pearl branch, which was super cute. Then I grabbed a ribbon. Then I added a couple more of those pieces of wood along the bottom. Then I grabbed these cute little twinkle lights that are battery operated and added those to the centerpiece.
Head to Dollar Tree and pick up 2 paper towel holders. Guide the centerpiece of the towel holder through the floral foam. Begin adding florals to the base. Stack the second paper towel holder directly on top and add more florals to it to cover the foam entirely. Take a strand of gems and attach to the top of the stacked paper towel holders. Attach it to the top of the paper towel holder base.
First, we're going to start with this 9-foot flocked garland. We're going to use some of this silver bay leaf and just work them right into the garland. Now we're going to work in some shatterproof ornaments, and we can start hot gluing these in place too. We'll just do one loop with a set of tails, and I'm just going to take that little pipe cleaner and wrap it around, and it just adds a nice little touch of ribbon. I grabbed one of our pre-made bird nests. Next up, we're gonna take some of our greenery. I'm gonna start off by pulling the branch so that we have a really long stem and dip our stems into our glue skillet. And we're gonna just poke our stems right into the bird nest. Now we're gonna take one of our Fittonia bushes. Now I just added some hot glue to the end. We're gonna do the same thing to the other side. Now that we have singular pieces, we're gonna dip the ends in our hot glue. And after doing that, we're gonna just work them in the front. So we're gonna take these, we're gonna snip off the end, and we're gonna work in one on either side. We're gonna take this greenery and we're gonna snip it off individually. So we'll just take some of that greenery, add some hot glue, and poke it into the bird's nest. And lastly, we have the punch pansies. So since it's flat, we're gonna need to curve either side. So we kind of create a little arch, and that will sit flush on top of my mailbox.
I began my project by taking my drill. I just made the watering can holes on the spout a little bit larger. I took my string of fairy lights and I pushed them up through the opening of the spout. You're going to weave it back down, out the opening again. You're going to repeat this process. I drilled some holes in the sides just so that you could see the lights from inside the can as well. This is my flat back basket, and then this is the arrangement that I have that I stick in here every spring. So I stick one command strip on the glass on my door and then the other one on the back of the basket.
Take 2 styrofoam blocks and glue them together using a cool melt glue gun. Take that wire hanger and bend it. Take 2 pipe cleaners and twist the ends together. Do this as well with another set of 2 pipe cleaners. Position the wire hanger hook on top of the styrofoam block and secure it by wrapping the pipe cleaners up and around the hook. Twist the ends securely and tuck them in. Start to stick the faux stems into the top and sides of the styrofoam block. Now take some faux flowers, continue to fill in the empty spaces with other flowers, and hang your new flower arrangement.
So we're gonna start with some bricks of dry floral foam. This is a glue skillet. And then we'll take those 2 bricks and we're going to stick them together. Now that we've given it a minute, now we can come back in with more hot glue and we're gonna secure this to the base of the container. Now we'll give this a minute to harden up. Now we have this beautiful hanging geranium bush. So we're gonna start by taking the stem and just working it right into the styrofoam. Up next, we're gonna work in some delphinium. Now we have some of these pretty pink flowers. So these are just inexpensive filler bushes. And to bring out a little bit more pink, we're gonna use this ranunculus bush. So we're just gonna take this whole bush, find the perfect spot, and then we can separate the flowers. I went to my local craft store and I found these adorable miniature watering cans. Here is the glue we're going to be using. I'm gonna place a little bit on wherever the metals are touching. Now we can take our flowers and begin working them in. Now we're gonna do the same thing to the second watering can.
I'm just going to start working on adding these flowers. I'm going to add some hot glue. I'm just going to work those all out like that. I'm going to go with the next one, and I'm going to go around. I'm going to get my wire cutters and cut some of these apart, and then I'm going to try and put it right where I want it. And I'm just going to try and wire right in the base. Cut these ends. I'm going to turn this back over and do the same thing on the other side of the nest. There are hooks on our little birds.
Grab tin cans and a napkin for this brilliant porch decor. I washed 3 tin cans from the recycling, removed the labels, and scuffed up the surface with a wire brush. I wiped clean with a cloth and spray painted the outside of each can with Rust-Oleum paint and primer white spray paint. While that was drying, I spray painted some metal chain black. I set that aside to dry. I used a small drill bit to drill 3 holes evenly spaced along the top edge of the tin can. I drilled holes in the same spots at the bottom edge and the same spots again at the very bottom of the tin can. Then I cut the napkins into smaller pieces and cut around the birds. I painted outdoor Mod Podge on the tin can, placed the napkin pieces on, and sealed it with more Mod Podge. I did this for all 3 tin cans, then used a nail to poke through the holes I drilled to make sure the glue didn't close them over. I let the cans dry. 24 hours is ideal.
Do you have random faux flowers around your house that don't seem to go together? Start by organizing them by color and type of flower. Fill the bottom of the planter with floral foam, stacked vertically next to each other. Tuck them in tightly and fill as much of the planter as possible. Once the foam is snug in the planter, take wooden floral picks and press them into the floral foam with about an inch sticking out. Now, take more floral foam and press them on top of the floral picks so the block is secure and doesn't move. Next, create 4 to 5 bows from ribbon and floral wire. Once all the wire is secure, stick the wood pick into the side of a foam block in the planter. Now, let's add the flowers. Think in terms of color blocking so that similar flowers are placed in the planter together. Start with tall flowers in the back and then add shorter flowers in a contrasting color in front of them.
Now you want to make sure that your glass bowls are very clean. So I'm going to pull it from the edge, and I'm going to take a gray Crayola crayon and I am going to draw right on my bowl. The next step is you want to take some silver glitter glue, and I'm going to paint my jar with the glitter glue in a crosshatch pattern. I'm going to be using these out of doors, so you definitely have to use some kind of a sealer. The next thing I'm going to do is take some fairy lights and put them right down inside of my jar.
I grabbed 2 hanging baskets and liners from Dollar Tree for this epic garden project. I unclipped the chains off of one of the baskets and placed the liners in each basket. Next, I used sharp scissors to cut a slit in the middle of each section and in the center hole at the bottom. Then I grabbed some petunias from my local garden center and carefully placed them into each hole. Planting from the outside worked best for me. I set it aside and repeated the same steps for the second basket. Next, I filled the center of each basket with potting soil and watered it. I gently placed one basket on top of the other and secured them together using 4 black zip ties. At that point, I decided to add in a few more flowers on the edge where the baskets meet.
Grab a 1/4-inch thick ply, wood numbers, and a bunch of flour. I started by cutting the 1/4-inch thick plywood. Next, I began assembling. I glued the frame pieces on top and either sides. Then I put together the pieces for the box. The box is then attached to the backer board. I added extra weights on top to help it bond. Next, I sanded all the sides to smooth the edges and then painted the whole box. I applied attractive base colors to both sides of the signboard. While this dries, I crafted permanent vinyl stickers using a Cricut machine. Next, I added 2 white hooks underneath the box. I drilled holes to the signboard and attached twine to hang it on the hooks. I then installed sawtooth hanger on the back of the baseboard. After that, I placed some foam inside the box and arranged colorful flowers to my liking. Next, I painted the wooden numbers black and fixed them on the box.